going to have to be vaccinated. I mean, it's starting all over again.
Yes, yeah, I know. It's just ridiculous. At the moment in the UK, I will say things are fairly mild compared with other countries. So we are, I'm guessing things are going to tighten up again, but certainly at the moment we've got a certain amount of freedom in the UK, which is a real blessing.
Absolutely. Well, welcome back. How did you get involved in hypnotherapy in the first place?
A rather strange story in a way. My father, who had been trying to stop smoking for many, many years, with no success, happened to see a hypnotherapist one day in an effort to become a non-smoker. And it worked.
It worked, yeah.
My father's a scientist by profession, and he couldn't understand how this had worked. It didn't make sense to his sort of scientific left brain. He went to see this man who laid him in a chair and relaxed him and talked to him softly about being a non-smoker. And after that, he didn't want cigarettes anymore. So what happened is he became very interested in the subject of hypnosis. He began to read up about it and became so fascinated that he trained as a hypnotherapist and started working privately as a hobby from home, seeing clients. I came to a situation in my life where I was looking for another job, excuse me, and my father said, well, why don't you try being a hypnotherapist? So I trained, and I was very lucky. It was like coming home for me. It just suited me. I always say some people are natural therapists, and I'm very fortunate that I'm a natural therapist. And so I got started seeing clients, and nearly 30 years later, here I am.
Good for you. Now, how did you evolve into past life regression work?
Well, that's an even stranger story, because I was just a standard hypnotherapist, seeing clients, just doing what we call post-hypnotic suggestion therapy, which is where we take a client into trance and we feed the subconscious with positive suggestions. And that was okay. And then a few months into my career, a young man came in his early 20s with a severe anxiety stroke. And it was such a severe anxiety state. He was shaking and hyperventilating and stammering.
Thought he was dying.
Sat in my office. Sorry?
He thought he was probably dying or something.
Well, funnily enough, it connected back to a death in a past life which he didn't know about. So his subconscious thought he was dying. He was in such a bad state that I took him into trance and guided him into a nicely relaxed state. He relaxed completely. It was beautiful to see. He just completely slumped in the chair. He was in a lovely deep trance state. And I was thinking, okay, I'll just give him some suggestions about becoming more relaxed, etc. And then about 10 minutes into the session, all of a sudden, without any warning, he started to shake. His whole body started shaking, and his head was going from side to side, and then he started to half whisper and half shout. And he was saying, no, hide in here, quickly, they're coming, hide, no, be quiet, be quiet. And he was very still, and then all of a sudden, he started to scream and yell, and his body was writhing, and he was screaming, no, not the children, no. And then he screamed, and then he slumped in the chair, completely quiet. Well, I was shocked, as you can imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
I was not expecting this. And he was just totally quiet. So I said to him, how do you feel? Are you okay?
Eyes open or closed?
His eyes were closed. All the way through, his eyes were closed.
Yeah.
And he said, I feel wonderful. I feel absolutely wonderful. I feel completely calm. He said, I've never felt this relaxed in my life before. Never. So I said, what was happening? He said it was weird. He said it was like I was in another body, in another time. The soldiers were looking for me and my family. We were hiding. That they were Nazis. And then they found us and they shot us all. He said, what was that about? I said, okay, well, I think you've been in a past life. I knew about past lives, of course.
Yeah.
But I hadn't trained in them. And I said, how are you? He said, I just feel absolutely marvellous. And you know, George, that severe anxiety state that he'd always had, and it had got worse and worse as he got older, was completely cured in 10 minutes.
Amazing.
And I sat there and thought, why don't I know about this? This is important. This is so important. Why on earth don't I know about this? He had spontaneously regressed. So I got some information from an American Past Life Association and started then becoming more open to the possibility of past lives and started to develop working in regression with clients to such a degree now that the vast majority of my hypnotherapy sessions are regression sessions where the client goes back into the past to open up and release the root causes of their problems.
I was going to say, by going back into the other past life where he was killed and his family was killed by the Nazis, how did that make him relieve his anxieties in his other life, this one?
Well, the regression model is that all of our issues come from locked-in feelings and emotions from past traumas. Now, those traumas take place in 3 different areas. In this present lifetime, of course, and many of us carry trauma from childhood, etc. In past lifetimes, and in the lives of our ancestors, so we can inherit traumas from ancestors as well. Now, by going back into the root causes, it releases the emotion, the energy that has been locked in the subconscious, which is causing the problem in the first place. Now, when that emotion is released, whether it's anger or sadness or fear or anxiety or even guilt, then the problem just dissolves away.
I'm interested, Steve, what was your second case? Because after the first, I got to believe that you were starting to seek other people.
Yes, I mean, what started to happen, I started to realize that the standard model of work for a hypnotherapist, which is simply to relax the client and feed the mind with post-hypnotic suggestions, just wasn't strong enough. So I started to open up then the possibility of working with the causes of the problems. And again, quite early on, maybe not the second case, but quite early on, I had a gentleman who came to me to stop smoking. Now, he was an ex-professional rugby league player. Rugby, of course, is the pretty rough game over here, where men and women pile into each other with a strange shaped ball.
This is like our version of football.
It is actually, yes. Yeah, very similar. Just as brutal. So this fellow was a big, strapping, great big chap who he was an ex-professional player, so he'd started smoking. And he wanted to stop because he wanted to be as healthy as he was years ago. And I did a standard stop smoking session with him where, again, feeding the mind with suggestions. And he left my office and he felt fantastic and looking forward to a life as a non-smoker. And then, about 3 weeks later, his wife called me one morning. In fact, I just arrived at my office and the phone was ringing and it was her. And she said, Steve, she said, since he came to see you to stop smoking, he hasn't had a cigarette. He hasn't wanted a cigarette. But he has been like a bear with a sore head. He started off being grumpy, and over the last 3 weeks he's become more and more angry until yesterday, last night at dinner, sitting there with the children, and I said something to him, and he completely flipped. He went berserk. He started screaming and yelling. He swept all of the dishes off the table onto the floor. He was almost out of control, she said. He then started to smash cups and crockery in the kitchen. He started to pull doors off the kitchen walls. She said, I was terrified. She said, I thought he was going to kill me. She said, I grabbed the children, we dashed into the car, we locked the doors, and as I'm driving away from him down the street, he's running after us, screaming at the top of his voice. She said, me and my children, we spent last night at my mother's. Steve, she said, does this normally happen when somebody comes to you to stop smoking? I said, no, not at all.
No,
Have you spoken to him today? And basically, she'd spoken to him. He'd been just sitting sobbing all night in the kitchen, completely ashamed of himself.
Do you think it's healthy, Steve, that that everybody have a past life regression just to see what they were, who they were?
I think the vast majority of people would massively benefit from it. Massively benefit from it.
Too.
Because when we went into he came back to see me, there were 4 past lives which were causing all of that anger. And we worked through all of the 4 past lives and released them, completely calmed the anger down, and then he was able to stop smoking without a problem. And the past lives were pretty awful. In one of them, he was in the Second World War as a soldier. All of his buddies got killed, and he survived. And he was just bereft in that life, and felt full of guilt because they died and he hadn't.
Why do we carry our past lives with us?
I'm not sure why. I just know that we do. It's just a sort of a factor of being a human being or a spiritual being in a physical body, which I do believe we are.
And I've always heard that you could have hundreds of past lives. That seems like a lot to me.
It's thousands in most cases, George.
Jeez.
It's thousands.
Are they all similar type lives too, Steve?
Well, it can be, I mean, I think the concept of reincarnation, the traditional concept, is that we have to live many lifetimes to experience many, many things in order to grow as souls, and then we don't have to come back and get reborn anymore. And we've done everything, we've killed, we've been killed, we've loved, we've been lovers, we've been rich, we've been poor, we've been high, we've been low. And it appears that our growth as a soul is sort of predicated on the experience that we have as in human form and in animal form, because I've certainly had some clients who have been animals in past lives.
We have a caller who will probably call you tonight when we take phone calls next hour, who claims to be the reincarnated Cleopatra. And this lady, her name's Louise, she knows things about Cleopatra that 99% of us don't know. I mean, it's uncanny. Now, either she studied it a lot or what, but I mean, she remembers things and everything, and I hope she does call, because you can quiz her and give her your thoughts on that.
Okay, yes, that's good. Now, I know that past life regression is a controversial subject, but one of the myths about it is that we've all been famous in past lives. We've all been Henry VIII or Cleopatra.
Right, always somebody, not the pool boy.
Not the exactly. But I will say that having done thousands of past life regressions, the chances for me of picking up, I have seen some people who have been very famous in past lives, but generally 99% of people are just, as you say, the pool boy. Simple as.
And nothing wrong with being the pool boy, but we're talking about people of notoriety, I guess.
Yes. I mean, my first book, which was Famous Past Lives, I cover this, where I had a client who came to me who she came to me because of a strange experience. She was working in an office, and a man in the office who she got on very well with passed her a file and touched her hand. And she immediately had this vivid image which came into her mind's eye of a woman in a long dress with long reddish hair in an old panelled room, and she felt very frustrated. And she called me a week after this had happened to say, I cannot get this feeling out of my body, I cannot get this image out of my head. What is it? So I said, it could be past life, come and see me.
Mm-hmm.
So I guided her into trance, and she opened up the memory, which began of standing in this old room, waiting for somebody to arrive, feeling very frustrated. And as she laid in my chair, with her eyelids closed in trance, she was literally strumming her fingers on the sides of the chair in frustration. And then the door opens and a man walks in, and it's the love of her life. And they fall into each other's arms and kiss. And this was obviously the man in the office who passed her the file. So I thought this was just a fairly normal past life experience. So I guided her through a little bit further on into the life, and then she saw herself in front of a room of people all looking at her, sitting on an old throne. And a man came over and said, "Your Majesty," and bowed to her.
Wow.
And I realised then something a bit more special was happening. We actually found that she was the reincarnation of Queen Elizabeth I, from England, of course, one of the most famous people in history.
Do you find that with past lives, people migrate to other people that they were with in the other life?
Yes, all the time. What it appears as it happens is when we die, our soul moves into a cluster of other souls. So over many lifetimes, there are groups of souls who are very close to us, and then other souls who are a little bit further away, who are less significant. Of those souls which are in the cluster around our soul, you could say, are the souls that we reincarnate with over and over, who become parents, husbands, wives, lovers, children, etc. And we sort of change sex from life to life sometimes, and sometimes we maybe our mother's parents in a past lifetime. So we do stay within these sort of soul groups very much over many lifetimes.
Why or how taking them back to regress to their past life, does that cure a problem or phobia in their current life? How does that occur?
Well, often the problem now will often almost be a mirror of what has happened in the past life. And many times it's the death in the past life which causes the problem now. So I would suggest about 60% of past life therapy is death therapy, is releasing death trauma. And very often the nature of the death mirrors the problem now. So I may have a client with a flying phobia. Just recently, a while ago, I had a client with a severe flying phobia. She had been in the Vietnam War as a soldier, as a male soldier. And although this wasn't a death, but as this soldier was flying some old clapped out, battered aeroplane with other soldiers over the jungle, they were shot down and crashed down.
Hence the fear. We're going to take a quick break, Steve, but we'll come back. Steve Burgess with us on Coast to Coast AM.
Coast Insiders, the new version of the Coast to Coast AM app, is now available for iPhone and now Android 4.0 and above. Listen live or on demand, anywhere, anytime. Go to coasttocoastam.com and download it today.
Vaccination mandates and higher education investments. I'm Johnny D'Agostini in the KFI 24-hour newsroom. The LA City Council is voting in favor of requiring COVID-19 vaccinations to enter many public businesses. The rule will go into effect starting next month. It'll apply to facilities that serve food or beverages. Preliminary findings by federal investigators show oil rig operators in Southern California waited more than 3 hours before shutting down a ruptured pipeline. NBC's Miguel Almaguer.
And about 5 miles offshore is where that leak happened. Investigators say they're trying to determine what happened and also what happened with the response to the oil spill.
Beta Offshore's control room apparently received a low-pressure alarm on the San Pedro Bay pipeline, indicating a possible failure at about 2:30 a.m. Saturday. The pipeline, however, was not shut down until after 6 a.m. Orange County's emergency management director tells supervisors the spill is between 120,000 and 150,000 gallons of oil. Governor Newsom is signing legislation that provides $47 billion for colleges and universities. Newsom told a crowd at Cal State Northridge local students are a priority, saying the state is now capping the enrollment of out-of-state students.
The number one complaint I get, why can't my kid get into the CSU? Why can't my kid get into the CSU? And so we're trying to reconcile that.
The legislation also includes a transfer pathway for community college students to in-state schools. There's also big investments in student housing and financial aid. The San Diego Padres are firing their manager. The team let Jace Tingler go, but also announced he had been given a chance to continue working with the organization. He finished with a winning record as manager, but GM A.J. Preller said they felt change was needed so the team could reach a championship level. Southend weather from KFI, cloudy skies today. Mid-60s at the beaches, high 60s in Metro LA, mid-70s in the Valley, and low 70s in the Inland Empire. It's 65 degrees in Anaheim, 59 in Simi Valley, 62 degrees in Van Nuys. We live local from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Johnny D'Agostini.
Fountain Valley, there is a full freeway closure. 405 southbound from Warner to Brooker Street. All lanes are going to be toned off for road work. Your traffic being diverted off onto Warner. Anaheim, this is on the 57th southbound at the 91. We have a solo car crash there. That's out of lanes and on the right shoulder, but watch for looking little lanes as you approach. San Bernardino, this is on the 210 eastbound from Del Rosa to Highland. Caltrans going to be taking away the 2 right lanes for road work. You're seeing delays. KFI of the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Brian Vance.
Replacing your windows and doors doesn't have to be stressful. Instead, it can be transformational. Turning your home into a space that inspires you to live healthier, happier, more comfortable. Seamlessly blending indoors and out to help you feel connected to nature. Martin windows and doors can make the difference. They're thoughtfully designed for the way you live, with an inspiring range of options that let you create the look you want and lasting quality you can feel good about. When you work with a local independent Martin dealer, you'll get straight advice about window and door replacement. Martin specialists will help you plan your project and select the right product for your needs. They'll give you a detailed proposal so you know exactly what you're getting and make the whole process easier. If you're ready to transform how your home feels with windows and doors you feel great about, schedule your free consultation at replacementmadeeasy.com. That's replacementmadeeasy.com.
We've all heard that you've got the right to remain silent, but have you ever really thought about what that means? It's the police literally telling you to shut up. I'm attorney Darren Kavanoki from 1-800-NO-CUFFS. If you're in custody and everything you say can and definitely will be used against you, remain silent and just shut up. Just make your one phone call to 1-800-NO-CUFFS, the leader in criminal defense. 1-800-NO-CUFFS, because no one looks good in handcuffs, unless you're into that sort of thing. 1-800-NO-CUFFS.
AMCO presents Bet You Didn't Know.
Bet you didn't know that your car's transmission is made up of 800 pieces. Also, bet you didn't know that AMCO's fixed over 40 million transmissions, and that AMCO offers a nationwide warranty.
And AMCO offers payment plan options for almost any credit situation, so it's easier than ever to fix it fast and pay it off slow.
That's AMCO, AA, MCO. KFI, AM 640.
Seattle, with his eyes before, just what the truth is, I can't say anymore, 'cause I love you.
You're listening to Coast AM with George Norrie.
We're going to take your calls next hour with Steve Burgess as we talk about past lives and regression, so jump on board with your questions, maybe even your stories. ParanormalDate.com, 861, that's the number to hit 118,000 signed-up members at ParanormalDate.com. Free to sign up, ParanormalDate.com.
So what happens if you're interested in that 60-plus crowd? Well, you can also go to ParanormalDate.com/seniors for those that are 60-plus, unique thinkers, like-minded people. They're all waiting for you now. ParanormalDate.com and ParanormalDate.com/seniors.
During this era of all kinds of calamities and things like that, build up your immune system.
We all know that feeling when you start to feel sick and immediately think what to take to get through this quickly without feeling real sick. Dr. Alan Millay that gave us the Stem Cell Wellness Kit to the rescue with 3 great products. which combined is the immune response package. It's worth stocking up on before you get those symptoms.
We are exposed to toxins, people breathing on us, shaking hands, flying around in an airplane that other people have just gotten off of. You've got all of these situations where you can put your body into compromise. You need to address quick immune response, and that is done with the product Attack, Co-Resist, and Viral A, what we call immune response.
So, doctor, you start the regimen the moment you're feeling sick.
You get that precursor feeling of, honey, I don't think I feel real well, or I don't know that if I should be going to work. In fact, these products are utilized by a lot of different HR directors, hand these products to their people and say, go back to work. And it works. And that's why we're putting these together. These need to be on hand. And the beauty behind our product, the beauty behind using plants, is that plants get richer with time. And we need to have the ammunition to be able to deal with whatever is knocking at our door saying, we're coming to make you sick. And you're going, heck no. We're going to deal with this. We're going to make a change. That's when you reach for the immune response pack.
3 products, Attack, Co-Resist, and Viral Aid, Immune Response. Over 200 capsules, enough for the whole family and for multiple use. Plus, free postage with promo code SHORT. Stock up now at healthylooking.com or by phone at 800-526-3639. That's 800-526-3639. Immune Response from Dr. Millett at healthylooking.com.
President Joe Biden wants one of the biggest tax increases ever. Now experts warn these massive tax increases will wreck the economy. This week, Sean Spicer and Lindsay Keith warn of President Biden's tax plan. Each night, Spicer and company talk to the experts so you can protect your money. Watch Sean Spicer every evening on Newsnet. Find it on every major cable system, most streaming services, or download the smartphone app now. Watch Spicer and company and Newsnet for the news you need to know. Newsnet.
There's a lot of confusion about how to protect yourself from COVID, with guidelines and regulations changing by the week. One thing is certain, you need an accurate thermometer for your family to check for fever, the leading sign of flu and COVID. Only the Oxygen Temporal Scanner thermometer has been proven accurate in more than 100 clinical studies. Don't rely on non-contact thermometers. There have no scientific studies behind them and can mix the fevers that might mean COVID. Learn more at oxygen.com.
At 25 years old, I was in so much physical pain. I was truly dreading getting older. I had weak bones, achy joints, weight that wouldn't go away, almost no energy, and constant brutal headaches. I was falling apart physically and mentally. I searched desperately for alternatives to the pain management traditional doctors offered. I tried alternative medicines with no positive results. Then I heard Dr. Joel Wallace on Coast to Coast with George Murray and decided to give his unique recommendation 90 days. It took less than a month to get results, and I've lost 95 pounds. I'm off